Hey everyone, Eric here from Iowa Robot Fighting. So it has been a while. Unfortunately, it has not been by choice. So I've been sick quite a lot. You might hear it in my voice over this video, but I wanted to make sure to finally get back and start talking about all the cool things that have been happening with the Midwest robotics scene and what will be coming up for Iowa Robot Fighting. So let's dive straight into what is going on in the Midwest. So in previous videos, you would have heard me talk about the MRCA, or Midwest Robot Combat Association. The MRCA is the overarching body that I am a part of, along with a variety of other teams and event organizers. And the states that are involved are Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, and Michigan. Those 5 states all have event organizers, with the Iowa Robot Fighting team being the Iowa event organizer. And I'll get more into that later. So Michigan Mashup is one of the major ones that has been going on for a while and has joined the ranks of the MRCA. The WRC, which you saw Cowboy compete in here last season. There's a Minnesota competition, and then there's a Chicago-based competition, which my old frenemy Carl is the organizer for. So with that, if you'd like additional details, check the description below. You'll find a link to the MRCA page, as well as all of the competition details, when each competition will be happening, who's involved in each one, links to websites that are useful, and also all of the rules and regulations involved with the MRCA. What is really awesome is, because of the 5 competitions that are involved and how we structured things at the end of last year, all of the MRCA competitions are qualifiers or feeder competitions for the final MRCA tournament, which will happen later this year. I'm really hoping that the Iowa Robot Fighting team will have an opportunity to qualify. We're trying to get into the Chicago competition, but we got started a little late this season, but that hasn't stopped us from trying to get in and also working on our robots. So when it comes to the Iowa Robot Fighting Competition, or IRFC, we will be holding it at the Maytag Center down in Des Moines. That is actually a Boy Scouts facility, and we have partnered with the Boy Scouts to be able to have that facility, and the Iowa Robot Fighting team will also be working with the Boy Scouts to teach combat robotics, entry-level stuff, and then possibly more as things progress. Luckily, we've made a nice connection with the Boy Scouts, and with any luck, we'll be able to not only leverage that, but also teach a really cool, not only hobby, but sport to young potential competitors. But with that facility, it's a really nice facility, which you can see here. And we have plans to broadcast from this location. We have all the cameras we're going to need, along with a special broadcast PC that I'm putting together right now to be able to do a multi-camera broadcast via our YouTube channel. So when it comes time for the IRFC, we will be making an announcement and ensuring that we get as many people watching the competition as possible, because we'll be trying to get as good of feed as we possibly can. One of the upcoming videos will likely be regarding the setup that we plan to do and some of the tests that we will be performing to ensure that the system is doing exactly what we want. With that, we went ahead and got ourselves a wireless microphone set up. And I have a complete PA system which will assist us in being able to ensure that all the competitors know where they're supposed to be and when. We are going to hold the competitors to a slightly higher standard than most of the competitions because we are going to be the last qualifying event before the MRCA tournament. We have to ensure that we give everybody a fair shot, but not give anyone an unfair advantage because, you know, they weren't listening or they didn't have what they needed and didn't come prepared. So everyone will get a fair opportunity at our competition, but that means that we will have to be a little bit more strict with the time constraints. So when it comes to the competition, we have designed a series of arenas. As you can see here, I started with a CAD model to try and lay out what the plan is for the arena, including how much materials we're going to need, and these arenas are quite expensive due to the Lexan or the bullet-resistant material that the viewports or windows need to be made of. These windows are going to be 3/8 inch polycarbonate, and it's going to allow us to have 3-pound robots at the competition. After I got done with the digital model, I went ahead and decided to figure out what some of the pitfalls might be by putting together a physical model. The physical model, as you can see in this section here, took a while to work out, and I wanted to make sure that I had a way to transport this without having to rent a U-Haul or anything like that, but also allow for pretty obvious setup on site. And you know, I think we've got a pretty good shot. It's very similar to the WRC competition arena, except ours is going to be exactly 6x6 on the inside. Mostly 2x4 construction, 2 doors, just like the WRC arena, and a ring out pit, which you can see in the model. We intend to put a 30-degree lip around rather than a wall separating that. That is going to make all the difference when it comes to control bots and pushers. That is the major benefit of the arena, not only for competitors to have the ring out capability from the very moment you get into the arena, but also the portability that comes with this design. So on to what everybody's been waiting for if you've been watching any of our videos in the past, the robots. So you've seen in the past that I went with a 3D printed design. And previously that, especially at the WRC competition, caused some major issues. That you can see here, the hole that Theseus was able to cut in the back of my chassis prove that the exposed 3D printed material was definitely not going to cut it against any of the more advanced competitors. So I decided to go with an aluminum chassis. But before I get into that, we also decided to move on from our original single circuit, single channel speed control to a dual timed speed control. This system will allow us a lot greater capabilities. As you can see in the video here, we are able to drive very straight right off the get-go. And when it came to the original ESCs that we were running, those were so poorly timed that there was always a delay by a couple of milliseconds, but it was enough to throw off our aim by up to 30 to 40 degrees. And it was a major issue when trying to drive at an opponent. This speed control, once installed, was able to give a high degree of accuracy. Not only that, we're not limited to 2-cell batteries. So with the 2-cell batteries, we were stuck at 7.4 volts. As soon as we were able to upgrade to the new speed control, we were able to go to 11.1 volts with the 3-cell battery. The 3-cell battery therefore gives us 50% more voltage as compared to our original design, with little to no weight gain in the robot. Operating time with just driving was roughly 8 minutes, and that was just seeing a minor slowdown without even a full charge on it. So huge benefits there. But back to what I was talking about before, which was the 3D printed material. So we saw that with the aluminum chassis of Horns of Jericho, Evan's robot, that we were able to really have a durable robot with not a lot of weight, made from metal, that warped out of the way in a lot of instances of high energy spinners, as compared to the plastic, which tended to shatter. At the WRC competition, we saw that my steel armor on the nose of Cowboy allowed for an extreme level of durability against Theseus. Of course, I still had that exposed rear end. So in order to remedy that, I decided to go with an all aluminum chassis. And you can see in the video here that it took a considerable amount of time to not only work out what it was going to take to be able to produce it, working with, initially working on paper and then working on foam to work out the kinks on the sizing that was required. I was able to produce a flat sheet of aluminum, which could then be cut out on the bandsaw. Once it was able to be cut out on the bandsaw, it took time to then pound out the overall shape, which then gave me my chassis as a whole. The thing that was missing from that, of course, was the motor mounts. The motor mounts then had to be worked out once again on paper, drawn out on aluminum, and then cut, which I only did with some tin snips, and then pounded into shape again. Everything then was attached via pop rivets, and even the motor mounts were attached via pop rivets. Now, what's really cool is as soon as you end up putting bends in flat sheets of aluminum, you start getting some real rigidity to it. There's a little bit of warping still in the center, but that's not a big deal, because the plan from here is to then wrap this in steel armor. So I'll end up with an exposed aluminum back, which, as we've described before, if it has no sharp edge to catch, it tends to warp away and not get damaged so much and allow weapons through. But the steel, on the other hand, should deflect and really hold up well. From there, the plan is to either mount my standard weapon like I have before, or if I have time, work on my new weapon system that I've been keeping kind of hush-hush. Then, of course, there's Evan's robot. So Evan is not sticking with the Horns of Jericho. Evan has transitioned to a new robot called Blackout. And as you can see in the design here, Blackout is going to be a much shorter design than the Horns of Jericho ever was, but also he is working on putting together a belt drive. And much like how I mocked up the new variant of Cowboy and the Arena, Evan then took foam to be able to figure out the dimensions and work in the physical rather than the virtual, to be able to figure out what to do. He's since then taken steel and aluminum and done some preliminary work on how that robot will be put together. Now, as you can see on the outside, it's not fully aluminum. Unlike me, Evan is working steel into the chassis design itself, and creating an armor belt similar to a battleship, which is either going to be the greatest innovation he has or the biggest failure of that design. We won't know until we see it. But the sheer fact that he's getting started as early as he is compared to where he was with the Horns of Jericho, since we put Horns of Jericho together in 4 days prior to the Minneapolis competition, the Blackout should be much better just for the sake of being able to prototype and iterate on the design, and it should also be a more efficient design. Evan and I are both going with hand-forged and hand-cut weapons. In previous videos, you saw me hand-forge these 1074 blades, which one is a heavier weight than the other, which you can clearly tell by size, but they're not quite as clean. Since then, Evan and I have started working in another shop, not just mine, but a rented workspace, for bladesmithing. Evan has done a lot of work there and has honed his skills. He is now moving on to making an asymmetrical hand-forged 1095 weapon, which he is currently prototyping. He'll need my help with being able to balance it, which we'll do in my shop here. But I think Blackout is going to be one of the more impressive designs he's come up with. Much like the work that I'm going to have to do with my weapon, though, Evan is going to have an uphill battle when it comes to designing how his weapon is going to fit and be stable inside that frame. But that is a challenge that we have time to address. So that is essentially what has been going on up until this point. We are going to be moving towards putting together a series of videos. Again, we're moving towards monthly videos from this point on. The next one will likely be continued robot design, additional iterations on the new Cowboy design. I may or may not paint it orange, I'm not sure. I'm a huge fan of orange, but you know, I don't know if I'll have the weight allowance to do it. Another video will be entirely dedicated to arena construction and how we're going to be going about that. And then the final video prior to our event is likely going to be event dry run and equipment setup and going over what we all have. That one is probably going to be a more candid video, and it might be a longer one because it might be in connection with one of my other streaming channels that I broadcast on, because we need a suitable test run, and what more suitable test run would it be than a board game night filmed from multiple angles? So this is my chance. I might as well give a shout out to my other channel on Twitch, which is Nerds Argue While Playing. If you're a big fan of people yelling at each other while playing video games, go check that out. I'll leave a link in the description. And if you want to see the complete test, I will be announcing that on that channel and this channel of the system, which I'll be showing here for the dry run of that. Our buddy Josh, who was originally planning to be a robot builder but will likely be only involved in the event organization, will be involved with running the cameras. Jason, another potential builder, and my artist who put together a lot of the visuals that you've seen on this channel and others, will be our announcer at the overall event. But I think that just about covers us. I know it's been a few months, and I am going to be moving at a breakneck pace to get Cowboy ready. So I hope you guys are all ready for an exciting new season. So with that, I'll catch you next time.